Good morning, everyone.
Morning. Morning.
Welcome to Eastrose Fellowship Unitarian Universalist. Everyone online and also here in the chapel. Welcome first-time visitors. We are glad you are here. I'm the Reverend Suzie Matranga-Watson, and I am your worship leader today. Our own Reverend Robin Zucker will be speaking this morning on autumn people. For our online guests, if you would like to share a joy or a sorrow during that portion of the service, you can do so by entering it in the YouTube chat, and those will be shared out loud with everyone during that time. I encourage you to identify yourself in the chat so we may better acknowledge your presence with us today. The land acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge that for at least 13,000 years, many tribes and bands have made their lives here with our church home and our communities that now exist. We remember and honor these people who have made their homes in this land, the ones that are here now, and the ones who used to be here. We gather remembering this is our home, but not just ours. It is many people's. In peace, may we share this land and honor each other. I'm going to say to everyone, this is my cell phone, and it is on. And guess what? Maybe at some point it'll be off. I encourage everyone, I hope you have a better luck at there we go. I encourage everyone, no, it isn't Turner. You know, somehow they're smarter than me. Turn off your cell phones, that way they won't go off during the service. I know you're probably thinking, oh, no one will call me. I won't get a beep. Yes, you will. You'll probably get a spam message. So please turn off your phone. Thank you. Let's take a moment now and greet the people with us today. We have here Larry Blatt. Larry, can I share about what happened? Larry was in an accident. He was on his bike and he was hit and broke many parts of his legs, but he is here today. Yay! We are so glad that you are back. So first, let's turn around, stand and face the camera, which is cameras which are by the clock, and wave hello to our online attendees. I know that when I am online, I really appreciate this part of the service. Now let's greet each other here in the sanctuary. Okay, everyone needs to sit down so we can start with the service. So we will have time after the service with tea and coffee to share in conversations then. And we're doing something different today, starting. We're going to, in the past, we have had tea and coffee brought in here, but we're going to be doing it back in the Thatcher room. So after the service, we'll just go, you walk, for those that don't know, you just walk straight in the back, and that's our Thatcher room, the social room, and we'll have coffee and tea there. I feel like it was a great idea, whoever came up with it, to make our chapel a sacred space. And if that person wants to put up their hand and say who came up with it, I will thank you. And if you don't want to, I thank you again. Call to Worship, words by the Reverend Howard Thurman, to center down. How good it is to center down, to sit quietly and see oneself pass by. The streets of our minds seethe with endless traffic. Our spirits resonate with clashings, with noisy silences, while something deep within hungers and thirsts for the still moment and the resting lull. How good it is to center down. Well, I found out who the mystery person was. It was our own minister, about putting the coffee in the back. Chalice lighting. And Cynthia's going to light the chalice while I read these words. By Christine Robinson. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Thank you, Suzie. Good morning, Eastrose. Just wanted to say about the social time being moved to the back. It gives us an opportunity, as more and more people are here on Sunday morning, which is an amazing, wonderful thing, to have more room to sort of mingle around and talk to one another, and also some chairs around the back for people to sit down if they feel more comfortable seated. So I will certainly look forward to seeing you all in the back after the service. So in keeping with the theme today, our opening words are responsive, number 540 in the gray hymnal, but the words will also be on the screen. The Peace of Autumn by Rabindranath Tagore. Today, the peace of autumn pervades the world. The quiet stillness rests like a tired bird, spreading over the deserted fields to all horizons its wings of golden green.
Today the hidden thread of the river flows without song, leaving no mark on the sandy banks.
The many distant villages bask in the sun with eyes closed in idle and languid slumber.
In the stillness I hear in every blade of grass.
In every speck of dust, in every part of my own body, in the visible and the invisible worlds.
In the dance of the sun and the stars, the joyous dance of the atoms to rhythms of sun.
Now, our opening hymn is really a song. It will probably be familiar to those of a certain age, and maybe to everyone. It's such a classic song. Try to remember from the Broadway show, The Fantastics. Please rise as you are willing and able in body or spirit. And the words will only be on the screen.
Suzie, cue them for when to start. Okay.
Thank you, Barbara.
I think I hear some choir voices in there. Step forward anytime, talk to Mary.
And now is our time for ages from the Family Ministry Coordinator, Tara. Please, all children of all ages, if you wish, come up.
All right. So today I'm wondering if you guys have ever felt like you've had a lot to do, a lot on your mind, if you ever feel rushed or busy, like you're trying to do more than one thing at once. Have any of you guys ever felt that way before? Yeah. Well, you will. I was thinking maybe when you're getting ready for for school or maybe even getting ready to come here. Sometimes it can feel like a rush to get out the door. But having a lot to do or too much on your mind can feel stressful. It can make us distracted. It can make us not enjoy things the way that maybe we could. So today's story is about slowing down and paying attention to what's happening right now in the present moment. After all, that's the only now that we have, so we should try to enjoy it. So the story is called Now by Antoinette Cortis. You'll be able to see the pictures on the screen. This is my favorite breeze. This is my favorite leaf. This is my favorite hole, this one, because it's the one I am digging.
Wow. I dig a lot of holes.
This is my favorite mud. This is my favorite worm.
I just find worm in our garden.
This is my favorite cloud because it's the one I am watching. This is my favorite rain. That was my favorite boat.
Oh no.
This is my favorite tree because it's the one where I am swinging. This is my favorite smell. This is my favorite bird. And this is my favorite song because it's the one I am singing. This is my favorite gulp. This is my favorite bite. This is my favorite tooth because it's the one that is missing.
You know what? And the teacher we're going to get it. At night.
This is my favorite hug.
A cat hug.
This is my favorite mood. And this is my favorite now because it's the one I am
A
having
story.
with you.
A mother elephant and a white baby elephant.
So what do you guys think? It's simple, right?
Look.
Yeah. But simple doesn't always mean easy. So we have to remember to pay attention to our now, and that's the basic idea behind what we call mindfulness. So Reverend Robin and the grown-ups are going to stay here and keep talking about what it means to slow down and have the best possible now, even when the world feels very busy. But we are going to go back to our RE classroom, and we're going to enjoy our now together there.
Would the people at the end of the aisle hold hands, and we'll be making a bridge. The words to sing our children out are on the screen.
This is the time in our service when we center down, when we're quiet. Our service is so full of words. The UUs are very wordy people. In fact, there's a joke, the Quakers are UUs who know how to shut up. So, we could kind of think of this a little Quaker moment in the service. And it fits in very well with my theme about Sabbath moments and the need to have those. So I'm going to invite you to put your feet on the floor and uncross your arms. And if you have something in your lap or you're holding a book, to put it away, close your eyes, and just breathe. One big exhale to start. Feel yourself creating spaciousness by dropping your shoulders, feeling the tension in your body, particularly in your face, around your eyes, your forehead. See if you can move your breath down your body, creating spaciousness. 4 beats in slowly through your nose, 5 or 6 beats out slowly through your mouth, in a kind of intentional, slow rhythm. Just breathe. No high thinking. No problem solving, no right and wrong. Just here, just now, just breathing. So let's breathe together. Stop and feel. Breathe and allow. Just keep breathing. Feel the spaciousness created by the breath. The breath is always now. You carry the breath wherever you go. It's spiritual, emotional, physical, psychological, first aid, a refuge. Finish a few more rounds of breath, and then slowly come back to this space. We'll remain seated for our meditative hymn. It's number 352 in the gray hymnal, although the words will be on the screen, and I encourage you to just sit quietly again with your hands open, your heart open, to sing Find a Stillness.
This reading is from Reverend Patrick O'Neill, Spring People and Autumn People. In the simplest term, the world is divided into two groups, spring people and autumn people. Eliot was obviously not one of the spring people. He said April is the cruelest month. But on this question, I'll side with Keats, who championed the season of mellow fruitfulness. I am a lover of autumn. Spring has its moments, to be sure. Spring people will tell you that green is the color of life. They will argue that the sun's return is the ultimate symbol of hope. They sing of rebirth, renewal, of seedlings and stirrings. They will tell you that the rain has a purpose, and the winter is mortal after all. Spring people need assurance, for they are the champions of youth, the clingers to optimism, who wear their naivety like a badge, or more accurately, like a shield against experience. Spring people bounce when they walk and whistle while they work. Spring people think picnics are meant to be athletic events. They prefer dawn to sunset. They trapeze through life armed with a bottle of Windex. Spring people require commotion. They fill elevators with music, and they jog in pairs. Silence and solitude annoy spring people. Autumn people move to a different pulse, and their rhythms attuned to a slower beat. As the frantic pace of summer slows, the world becomes more in line with style. Autumn people prize harvests over planting, wisdom over hope, apples over oranges. They recognize the monotony of green. They are grateful for the leaves, not only for their color and their pleasant crunch underfoot, but also for the shade they gave us during the summer's heat. Autumn people are slow to rake and slow to burn. For autumn people, memories are more important than expectations. Thanksgiving is more meaningful than Easter for them. They welcome the variety of colors, the excuse for a fireplace. Autumn people have come to terms with mortality. They appreciate filtered light. They know that the stars are suns, too. They know that winter trees are not dead. They are bare, ruined choirs where late the sweet birds stand. Say that 3 times. The songs of autumn people are not all love songs. Their poems reflect more than sweetness and light. Autumn people need alone time, time to think, time to ponder, time to take their bearings in a world where the colors are varied and the paths are covered over. Perhaps the world needs both. A time for every season and all that. I only ask that you spring people be patient with us autumn folks at this time of the year. Your season will come again, I promise you. That's how it works.
Try to remember the kind of September when life was slow and oh so mellow. Try to remember, and if you remember, then follow. We sang these memorable lines quite robustly in the service this morning. It was great to hear. We love the melody and the familiar lyrics. The song elicits a kind of warm, fuzzy, nostalgic, wistful feeling. Yet I'm wondering, try as you might, can you remember the kind of September that's lifted up in that song? I must admit, I have trouble remembering living in such a slow and oh-so-mellow time. I think many of us, plagued as we are by constant distractions, might have trouble remembering our opening words this morning. There will not be a quiz, I promise. Do you remember? And if you could remember a slow and mellow September, would you, could you follow? In our reading earlier, my witty and observant colleague, the Reverend Patrick O'Neill, reminds us that poet T.S. Eliot, in his famous poem, The Wasteland, called April the cruelest month. But I'd argue that here in modern-day America, once mellow September gives April a formidable run for its money. September just, it isn't so slow and mellow anymore for many of us. We've ingathered and launched our church year. School is in session. We're packing away our beach chairs and flippers. We're ramping up lunches, work, committees, causes, homework, dinner, dishes, finances to manage, relationships to keep afloat, gardens to prepare for winter, books to read for book club. I'm getting exhausted just reading this list. Cookies to bake for social hour. The list is endless, even for some of you retired folk. You tell me what you're doing with your life, and I get tired for you. At least that's what you tell me. In O'Neill's words, autumn people slow down, enjoy a certain pace. It sounds appealing, doesn't it? Some of us run around being bouncy spring people 12 months straight, not looking very closely at anything except our Apple Watches and our smartphones. We may confess silently to ourselves and aloud to one another, I love my family, I love my work, or at least the cash flow it provides. I love my friends, I love my volunteer work, my hobbies, my church, my alone time. But there aren't enough hours in the day, it seems. How long can you be a spring person in autumn? I'm stressed, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I feel guilty. How long indeed? O'Neill also explains that autumn people need alone time, time to think, time to ponder, time to take their bearings in a world where the seasons are ever changing, where the colors are varied and the paths are covered over. And in my view, this description makes all of us autumn people, because in order to lead balanced and sane lives, we all need time alone, time to ponder, to take our bearings, even us predominantly extroverted spring people. I know I do. And yet, many of us are buzzing around the clock, claiming to crave downtime as we jot yet another commitment into our Google calendars. Has downtime become a euphemism for sanity? For autumn time? We suffer from what one pundit calls scheduled hyperactivity. And some people refer to it as overfunctioning. Some would simply say, well, that's modern life, just deal with it. According to sociologists, a jammed household calendar is the new status symbol. You hear people say, you should see how busy we are. It's like a hamster wheel of life. We don't know how to get off. Priorities, which we might want to set, like school, church, activism, recreation, healthy personal development, relationships, are undermined, one could say hijacked sometimes by strangers, or by new social norms like incessant texting, and Instagram doom scrolling. Although this isn't true for all of us. 24/7 is a catchphrase we're all used to by now, as in I'm hooked up to the internet or on my watch. I get notifications from Facebook and the New York Times 24/7. When do we quietly reflect and ponder, turn off our devices, be in autumn time? We seem to be connected, I talked about that a couple weeks ago, but not in the right way. Are we actually engaged? What does it mean to be engaged with people? The society we've created is one in which we seem to be always wired, but detached. Linda, of course, is quite notoriously and proudly low tech, so maybe I'm not speaking to her and she could teach us something. But, most of us are wired in. Most of us have sort of learned the habit of scorning rest, unless we pay a lot of money for time at a spa or a spiritual retreat and literally remove ourselves from the madness. And we're a bit confused. I know I am. Are we meant to Marie Kondo our lives, declutter and chill? Or be Stephen Covey superstars? Remember those infamous 7 habits of highly effective people? Can you be both? This question has new dimensions, I think, in a post-pandemic recovery period, when some of us, I know this is true of me, are recognizing that we had been living in a state of existence of what some call under-being. Would be the opposite of what I'm talking about, under-being, during the COVID isolation, that of intense cocooning, which kind of blossomed into a way of life, whether we intended that or not. And now many of us are reemerging. We're seeking to kind of layer activities back into our lives the way you would layer a sweater onto your outfit in autumn. While we do that, let's attempt to avoid a lethal level of busyness. In fact, I learned recently that the Chinese pictograph for busy is the combination of 2 characters, heart and killing. Those Chinese, they're so clever. A successful, busy life can become a violent, lethal enterprise. Psychologists warn that this scheduled hyperactivity actually robs children and adults of what they really need most, time to connect with themselves and with family and friends, to keep mental health and emotional ties from withering. So how can we set limits and make priorities for ourselves, for our families, for our employees, our employers, for committee chairs, for board members? How can we reclaim time and reclaim an identity as autumn people? Now, for our ancestors, time was not linear the way it is for us. It was seasonal and cyclical and circular. In his book, Time Wars, Jeremy Rifkin reminds us that we once lived in a far more pagan, earth-based way, by summer and winter solstice, lunar cycles, planting and harvesting crops, remembering births and deaths. It was an internal calendar oriented to the past and to commemoration. Part of being on that internal clock, so to speak, had to do with paying attention to the changing seasons and the constellations, the rooster crowing, the ebb and flow of tides, the growing of children, the sap flowing, the bees taking to nectar, birds migrating and returning, like those swifts that we see at the Chambers School. Folks worked hard, to be sure, but time was slow and mellow on purpose because it was natural. Even today, in some parts of Africa and on Papua New Guinea, the concept of time as we understand it just doesn't even exist. There is no equivalent for the word hour or minute. It is a day when the sun rises and night when the sun sets and the moon comes out. Work is a holistic aspect of living. No one knows or even cares how old a relative is when they die. The ancients knew what we've often forgotten, but we can try to remember. We can try to remember that we need rest in order to be whole. We need Sabbath time, autumn time. I fully appreciate that it's hard, if not impossible, to spontaneously take off an entire day unless you're retired. And even then, some of you have so many things you're doing, even that's difficult. But Sabbath doesn't have to be an entire day. We can incorporate Sabbath pauses into our rhythms, moments when we take back time, when we settle into a slower pace, pauses in which to be autumn people, like the way we do now in our service, when we have that quiet time to settle down, to center down in the middle of an hour of mostly words. I saw a bumper sticker recently that said, "I'll rest when I'm dead." And to me, that is an insidious concept. Rest now. When we rest, we don't miss out on life. We learn to appreciate and notice life, free from perpetual distractions. Sabbath pauses and full days of rest allow us to reflect, to heal, to savor a kind of sweet peacefulness. If we can quiet the monkey mind, if we can quiet high thinking and problem solving, and what's next. What will help us to reclaim Sabbath time and in the process reclaim one another is to shift from time management to time awareness. We'll also have to train ourselves to get over any guilt we might feel when we are relaxing, that we are slacking off or being unproductive. Maybe we'll need to do less multitasking and more focusing. The Episcopal priest, Robert Farrar Capon, warns, we spend a lot of time wishing we were elsewhere and otherwise. We're like the character in the movie Postcards from the Edge who sends a card home from vacation. Having a wonderful time. Wish I was here. Here, now, like the lovely, simple story that Tara told in The Time for All Ages. Our attempts or our tendency to label certain activities as worthy and others as worthless is equally disheartening. We often hurry through the so-called boring things in order to attend to what we think of as important, interesting, vibrant. Perhaps the final freedom will be the recognition that everything in every moment is essential. Broadway plays and sweeping the kitchen floor, and that nothing at all is important. The quality of presence determines the quality of life. It is all now. Sometime back, I saved an article. I save a lot of articles, folks, but I saved this one, and it's called Time Billionaires by Sahil Bloom. It focuses on the idea first proposed in 2019 by Graham Duncan, who's the co-founder of East Rock Capital. He says that we are all time billionaires, and that time is the most valuable and precious resource we possess as humans. It's a kind of spiritual or holistic bookkeeping. 1,000,000 seconds is 11 days, he says. 1,000,000,000 seconds is slightly over 31 years. In our culture, this very rich man had a revelation. He said, we're so focused on money, and we deify dollar billionaires. But as he points out, we don't relate to ourselves as the time billionaires that we are. Most of us fail to realize the value of this asset until it's gone, or dwindling down to resources, or slipping away. The Stoic philosopher Seneca tells us we're not given a short life. We make it short when we are wasteful of it. Being a time billionaire is about embracing the finitude of life and finding joy in those ordinary daily moments of beauty and tragedy, joy and sorrow, the mundane and the exciting, solitude and connection. You may wonder, what does Eastrose have to do with all of this? Well, simply, let's not have our congregation be another arena of overfunctioning, scheduled hyperactivity, and fatigue. Now, I'm preaching to myself, of course. Sometimes I'm trying to do more in a day that's possible or healthy. Yet part of my calling as your minister is to try to model a saner pace, an autumn pace, even when we gather together here 9 months hence, amid that bright, green, bouncy bounty of spring for flower communion. My hope is that Eastrose will be your locus to balance passion and pause, good stewardship and good self-care, activity and reflection, sacred covenant with self and others. There is certainly work to be done and wonderful ways to be involved and active here. But let this place be an autumn place for you too, a Sabbath place to be refreshed and support one another as time billionaires. Heck, the whole Sabbath concept might make a whopping comeback. Now, here's a hopeful sign, amusingly. According to the Wall Street Journal, people worldwide are going gaga over the sloth. You know, that wide-eyed animal who takes up to a week to eat a leaf. A week. Apparently, folks burst into kind of spontaneous and unexpected tears when they encounter a sloth. What does the sloth, a languid Zen master, teach us? Go slow to go fast. That phrase was first coined to me by my good friend, Stephanie Bennett Vogt, a renowned space clearer and teacher who's written wonderful books on spaciousness, including her excellent book, A Year to Clear What's Holding You Back. Her latest email series is called, fittingly, The Overwhelmed Solution. And the first message, go slow to go fast. Start with presence, slow the pace. It all goes so fast, doesn't it? Life goes fast. Why are we speeding it up? Doesn't it go fast enough? What are we doing to ourselves? We watch recitals and sporting events and our children's birthday parties or grandchildren's birthday parties through our mobile apps. Why don't we look more intentionally at one another and try to remember autumn time? Friends, I reckon as I write this, as I write many of my sermons, that we are fortunate in that we are living safely. We are gathering safely, and in most cases, we're free to choose how to allot our time. Our agendas are full. What about our lives? What do our hearts long to choose? To be autumn people, or to be perpetually exhausted and distracted? So be a time billionaire who treats the seconds, minutes, and hours as your ultimate currency. Spend it wisely with those you love for causes that matter in ways you'll never regret. Leave a legacy that your descendants will honor and emulate. Goodbye to clocks ticking. This is emotional, says Emily in our town. Goodbye to clocks ticking. The leaves will begin to turn and fall. And the season reminds us, she says, "O earth, you are too wonderful for anyone to realize you. It all goes so fast." So try to remember. And if you remember, then follow. Blessed be, blessed we, and amen. Our hymn is number 86 in the gray hymnal, Blessed Spirit of Our Lives. Please rise as you are willing and able. The words will also be on the screen.
And I believe
I'm going to play it all the way through because it's not familiar.
Okay, number 86.
The offertory words by Brandon Locke Lovey. Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. Half of each week's Sunday collection is shared with a nonprofit. For months of July through September, we share with Outgrowing Hunger. Outgrowing Hunger builds and operates community farms and gardens for refugees, immigrants, and people who care about affordable access to real food in Portland and Gresham. If you are a first-time visitor, please let the basket pass you by. You are our guest today. We now gratefully receive the gifts of this congregation. But not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our benediction today is by Edward Hayes. O sacred season of autumn, be our teacher, for we wish to learn the virtue of contentment. As we gaze upon your full-colored beauty, we sense all about you an at-homeness with your amber riches. As you, O autumn, take pleasure in your great bounty, let us also take delight in the abundance of the universe and in the amber riches of this beloved community. Blessed be, blessed we, and amen. Brief announcements. I would like to invite you all. Next week will be the first of 3 monthly new and renewed UU discussions after the service. It's also the potluck, so you can grab some food, and then we'll have three one-hour sessions on the first Sunday of the next 3 months for people who are new to Unitarian Universalism and to Eastrose, and those who just would love to be in a discussion about that. And also to check pedals for all the great things that we're doing here. The dinners, which this is the last day to sign up. So if you want to sign up, please fill out a form for Linda. And snowcap and a game night we're planning in October. Lots going on here, and we hope you'll join in.
I want to make this announcement that Sherry has a whole bucket or a crate full of apples from her yard, and she wants to go home with an empty crate.
No apples.
No apples. So after the service, when we're in the back having coffee and tea and conversation, please take as many apples as you want. Are there any other announcements? Do you want to just speak very briefly, or
Yeah,
just come on up here?
just that today is the deadline for the Friendship Circle dinners. If you need a sheet, there are some out in the hall. I've got a few here. It's next Saturday. So the deadline's today. I said noon, well, 1 o'clock if you need to think it over, so we can start getting organized. Yeah.
Good. And for those that don't know or haven't done this in the past, somebody will host people at their homes. They will decide on who brings what, and you can either be a host or you can sign up just to go to someone's house. I have had over the years wonderful, wonderful events, including meeting Keen and his wife Peg for the first time at a 7, well, we called it then 7 at 7. So it is fun, 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 fun.
And a great way for newer people to just get more acquainted with us and vice versa.
Yes.
That second that, the newer people are not only invited, but desired.
Desired, yes. I want to thank Barbara for her wonderful piano playing.
Yes. Thank you, Barbara.
I also want to thank John and Phyllis. Even though Phyllis is not here, she helped put a lot of the whole presentation, as well as Mary came up with a lot of the pictures. She's also not here. Iris and Karen were our greeters. Keen brought flowers, and Vonna also brought flowers, and I don't know if she put them out, but they're out there. So those are appreciative. And
Luna made coffee.
Cheers.
I remember we're meeting in the fashion room today.
Right.
If you're a newcomer, you might have seen the little visitor forms on the little clipboards. And there's some in the hall, but there will also be some at coffee out there. So we can stay connected.
Okay, and so the service is ended. If you are attending online, exit YouTube and connect to Cafe Connections via Zoom. And those here at Eastrose are invited to remain and have coffee and tea and conversation in the back and get some apples.
Next week's potluck, so maybe bring something apple-y.
And we hope to see you next week, and bring a friend.
Yes. Thank you all. Look forward to having coffee with you and chatting more in the back.